Do you struggle to stick to your budget? Have you reworked it so many times that you don't want to do it again? Are you ready for a budget that finally works? Well, in today's episode, I am going to challenge that thought. Your physical budget is only 50% of being able to stick to it. The other 50% is your mindset. That is why in today's episode, I am going to share with you how to know if your budget is the problem or if it's your mindset and what you can do about it. So go get your drink, open your heart to God, and let's dive in. If you're ready to build wealth, ensure financial security, stop overspending, and finally create a budget you can stick to, you mama are in the right place. Hi, I'm Molly, a budget coach and financial strategist who went from living paycheck to paycheck to paying off debt, saving money, and going on vacation, all by budgeting. And I help mamas just like you budget and create God-centered systems and routines so that you too can have financial freedom. Now stop pinching those pennies and let's dive in. Alrighty, so as I'm getting closer to bringing this beautiful baby into the world, for the time being, I am no longer offering my predictable budget coaching package, just because there won't be enough time to complete it before the baby comes. Now, if this is something that you are interested in and you want to save your spot for when I start back up the coaching program, send me an email at mollybennell@gmail.com and let me know that you would like to save your spot. But that doesn't mean that I'm stopping all coaching. I'm simply cutting it back to single one-on-one coaching so that when baby comes, it doesn't affect you. So, with that being said, if you're struggling with your money, if it's overwhelming you and you just don't know where to start, I want to invite you to hop on a single one-on-one coaching session where we will do a budget audit by looking at your expenses, adding up your income, and pairing it with all your goals so that you can have a game plan for how to move forward in organizing your money. Sometimes jumping straight into reworking your budget can cause more overwhelm. So let me help you relieve some of that stress by helping you see what you're already doing, identifying what you want to do, and creating a plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be. If you are ready to release the stress and overwhelm and know what your next step is in organizing your money, then send me an email at mollybennell@gmail.com saying budget audit, and let's get you out of the overwhelm and into organized. Again, the email is MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL, so it's mollybennell@gmail.com. Alrighty, so let's jump straight in to figuring out if your budget is the problem or if it's your mindset, right? We're going to just quickly go through this, not do a big thing, but we're just going to simply figure out if it's your budget or if it's your mindset, because that's mostly what we want to figure out, right? So if you have a plan in place, right? If you have a budget, you've sat down, you've looked at your money, you know what to do with it, you've figured out what goals you want to set, then most likely it's not your budget. The answer is it's either your systems, which I kind of lump budget and systems together because you can't have one without the other. You can kind of have the plan, but if you don't have the systems in place, you don't have the action behind it, right? So budget and systems kind of go together. And if you have that plan in place, then more than likely you probably have somewhat of a system in place that you do. Now, whether it's a very good system or just something that you've kind of fallen into, that is a totally different story, right? But if you still have a plan and you have something behind it to help you follow through with what it is that you've planned, then your answer is your mindset. And that's what I want to talk about in this episode is your mindset. Now, I might do another episode in the future talking about what to do if it's your budget, but I really just want to go over what to do when your mindset is not helping you follow through or stick to your budget. And in this episode, we're going to talk about what to do if your mindset is keeping you from sticking to your budgets, right? So good intentions, goals, and dreams, they're great motivators. But when you take your eyes off of the things that you want, your brain automatically shifts to find something else that it wants. It's like you can't just be content with what you have. You got to constantly be looking for something that you want, right? Too easy is it for your brain to just toss out your plans when you see something else that you want. And this is kind of what I like to call shiny object syndrome. And I did not come up with that. Like, that is a very common phrase, but we all fall prey to this. And shiny object syndrome is essentially where you see something new and you have to go for it, right? And you get distracted from what you were trying to do. And it's so easy to fall into. Let's take New Year's, for example, right? Everybody comes up with New Year's resolutions and they have good intentions and goals and what they feel like are actual priorities. They may even set up a plan of action to reach those goals. But then life happens. It gets busy, and what was important simply became one thing that was so easy to push off because it's not a built-in habit. Life gets busy, and then your goal just became a distant dream. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like your budget, right? You create this plan at the beginning of the month, and then by the end of it, you don't even remember what you've written down because you've already fallen off the wagon and it's just completely gone. What your plan was, there's no way of getting back to it until the next month, right? So how do you stop this? The way you stop this is with constant reflection. That is why I have 3 areas for you to reflect on. You could do it weekly, monthly, or even quarterly, but the more often you do it, the longer you are going to stay aligned with your goals and be able to make true, confident tweaks to your budget that actually need to happen versus letting life decide it for you and just end up pushing it off, right? So, with that being said, let's jump into those 3 areas. So the first area that I want to talk about is realigning your mindset. Like I said earlier, it's so easy for you just to take your eyes off of the goal for a minute and your brain just refocus in on something else that you feel like is just as important or maybe more important in the moment. But then later back when you look at it, you're just like, wow, did I really do that? I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't a good idea. So realigning your mindset with your goals on a weekly or even a daily thing, if that's something that you need to do because you struggle that much with staying on track, right, is going to help you be able to remember what it is that you want to do, really know what your goals are, and if by buying the thing that your brain thinks is this new shiny object that you absolutely have to have, you're going to be able to look at your goals because you're going to remember what they are, and you're going to be able to make a solid financial decision and go, no, maybe I shouldn't, because if I do, it's going to affect this. If I do, then I won't be able to get whatever this is on the time frame that I'm trying to get at, right? With the timeline that I'm looking at. So that's going to be able to help you make a decision. Or maybe you will say, yeah, I can do that. I'm okay with pushing that goal back a little bit. It's not going to affect anything. It just will take another month or something like that. The other thing that you really need to align your mindset with is God. And I say this because we're Christians and we want to do our finances with God, right? We want to partner with Him in our finances so that we are glorifying Him in what we do. And a lot of the times when we go out into the world and that shiny object syndrome takes over, you're doing what the world wants you to do. You're doing impulse buys. You're more focused inward on what you want and those selfish desires that your brain's like, oh, I absolutely have to have that, instead of what is really important, right? And by realigning your mindset with God and connecting with Him, just simply through praying, every time you sit down to budget or when you go out to make a purchase, simply praying over those purchases are going to help keep your mind aligned with God's will and desire for you and your life and your money, and to help you actually make solid financial decisions that aren't based on selfish desires, because we all fall prey to that. So don't worry about that. But we are going to be able to make strong, confident decisions because you know that God is behind you in those decisions and is going to bless you through them. He's going to direct your steps and help you know if that is a good purchase or if it's something that you should hold back on, right? Because doing this alone is really hard. But if you're doing it with God and in God's strength, all things are possible, right? Okay. So the next thing that I want you to do, tip number 2, is to do a heart and energy check. So when you're looking inside and you're reflecting on what you've been doing, you need to figure out what is motivating your choices. Are you low on energy? So you're just buying fast food because you don't have the energy to make the homemade meal that you want to make, right? Is your motivation focused inward on yourself? Where is your heart when you're making those motivations? Is your heart oh, I want it all for me, instead of, okay, how can I bless somebody else with this money kind of thing, right? So what is motivating those decisions that you are making, the choices, right? Also, where are your emotions? Are your emotions getting in the way? Are they keeping you from being able to see reality and what's actually going on? Because sometimes getting that under control is another thing that you have to really be able to rein in so that you can actually make a solid financial decision. Because if you are so emotionally overwhelmed with fear, with worry, you are going to make financial decisions out of fear and worry. And that is why when you realign your heart with God, realign your mindset and your thinking around the way God wants us to be, right? And to think and to do, then we are going to be able to make financial decisions not based on emotions. And if you think about it, or if you know anything about marketing, most marketing is built off of emotions because a lot of people buy emotionally. They're not so much more tactical and wanting to know the exact thing that's going on, right? They're wanting to know how this is going to help me, how it's going to solve my problems. And when that happens, it is tied to your emotions. And so, no, I don't want you to completely get rid of your emotional spending and thinking about how it's going to help you. But I do want you to notice if you are buying things, if you're doing things based on fear, based on worry, based on selfish motivation, just really look in and reflect on what it is that is making and motivating your choices. And that is going to help you really be able to stick to your budget, because you then are able to notice when this takes over, and those impulse buys are going to slow down, because you're going to be like, no, I'm safe, I'm fine, I don't need that. If it's a fear thing and a worry thing. Now, if it's I'm super excited thing, you can still notice that that's what's going on because the shiny object syndrome took over, right? But that is a big thing that's going to help you stay on budget. Okay, so the third thing that I want to talk about is keep your expectations in check, right? So what I mean by this is we can do so well in thinking that something has to be perfect, or creating a plan and saying, okay, so this is the timeline that I want it to be. This is how quickly I'd like to achieve this goal. But a lot of the times when it comes to building up a timeline, or it comes to getting things done or sticking to a plan that you really, really, really want to achieve, those timelines that we come up with are not reality, right? The reality is you may be trying to do too much, and maybe you do have the finances, but when life comes in and takes over, because it's going to, that is life, that is the way the budget works, and something is going to happen, and you're going to get off of your plans, off of your goals, because you're going to have to take care of whatever is going on. For me right now, I am way off track because we had a porch renovation that we had to get completed before it got cold to like keep our house warm, right? So we literally tore our porch down to the studs and rebuilt the whole thing. And so all of our money that was going into our savings had to get thrown into buying material for that so that we could just get the house sealed up for winter and be able to paint it before it was too cold. Oh my goodness. It was definitely stressful. But now because of that, I wasn't able to like slowly save up for Christmas, I did throughout most of the year until that project came up, right? But then once this project came up, it was stopped. So I didn't have everything that I needed for Christmas. So I'm taking out of the savings to cover the rest of that. Then I am also taking out of savings to save up for baby, for when my husband takes time off, and to also buy the new things that I need to buy for baby when baby comes. And so my life has gotten in the way, the expectations. We were trying to get the car paid off like as quickly as possible, and it's just not happening. So I've had to learn how to rein in my expectations and just have a goal that I work towards, but then give myself grace and give myself like the ability to say, okay, this isn't happening as fast as I want to. And instead of like getting super upset about it, I just recreate my plan, realign everything that I want to do, and go for it. Like get everything back into shape, get all my sinking funds covered, right, that need to be covered, and then move on instead of stressing over it and getting upset with it and all these other emotions that then are going to block everything else that I'm trying to do. It's going to screw up my mindset. It's going to make my motivation, like for my choices, come out of a place that isn't a healthy one, right? Isn't where I want it to be coming from. And so really reining in those expectations and making them like actually reality versus something that we really would like to get done as fast as possible. Like still having that goal, but also being able to give myself grace when that doesn't happen is so important. Okay, so I do have a fourth tip that I would like to touch on a little bit, and that's like a way to help you really with your reflection in helping your expectations, right? And so how to help your expectations and to keep them on track is to simply do a priority audit, right? So a priority audit is where you have the goals that you want to achieve and you know how important they are in your head, but are they really that important, right? So if you're willing to push them off, are they a goal that you really want to reach, or is it just half a want, right? Like that's something that you really need to think about. And if it's really an important goal, then you need to stop pushing it off, even when life gets in the way. Those are things that they're non-negotiables. Some of those things are definitely your needs. So your bills need to be paid regardless of if life comes up. You need to have money to be able to drive to your job if that's something that you need. Your husband definitely will need that because I'm sure that he is driving to his job. But is there two vehicles? Are you driving around a lot, right? So do you need more money for that kind of expense. Those are the things that you really need to know if they're important or not. But those are your needs. When it comes to your goals, there are also things that are just as important that pushing off could harm. And some of those things are what you would put in sinking funds. So are you okay with pushing those sinking funds off like I have been? I've had to push off my sinking funds to get this porch sealed up for the winter time. And it has really pushed us back a little bit, but I know that we can quickly catch up and I'm not too worried about it. But sometimes you may not have the income to be able to so-called catch up, right, in a future month or so. Sometimes stepping back and letting life control that and then not putting that money towards that sinking fund will affect you not in a good way, right? So you really need to make sure that you are able to cover the expenses that you need even when life gets in the way. But then there might even be some things like paying off debt that you really, 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 really want to get paid off because you are so far in debt that you have money tied up and you can't do anything else because it is so tied up in your debt. And so that is also an okay thing, that when life comes and gets in the way, you don't stop putting more money towards that. You just maybe cut back on the amount that you put back. And there's so many ways to do it, but you've got to know what your true priorities are. So when you actually sit down and identify what your goals are, you need to prioritize them, right? List them from 1 to however many goals you have and figure out what the order is of the most important to the least important, so that when life gets in the way, you know the things that you are okay with getting rid of, or even maybe you're not able to cover every single goal that you would like to. You still know the order in which they come, and you can put the money where it actually needs to go first before you start putting it everywhere else, right? So make sure that you have your goals, your needs, your wants, everything ordered in an order of priority, right? Okay, so the 4 tips, because I gave you 4 instead of 3, that I gave you so that you can be in constant reflection is first to realign your mindset with your goals and with God. And God is more important than your goals, so make sure that you're constantly checking in with Him, right? Do a heart and energy check so that you know what your motivation is coming from and where you are making choices from. 3, make sure that you keep your expectations in check. Is what you're trying to do reality? Or is it something that's going to stress you out even more because you're not able to stick to the thing, the plan, the timeline that you want to because life gets in the way, right? And then 4, do a priority audit so that you are actually reaching what is most important to you first and you stop pushing them off. Okay, so if you are struggling with this and this is something that you'd really like to sit down and do and you don't know how to do it, definitely reach out to me because this is what I can help you with. I can help you create a system to make sure that you are in constant reflection and that you know what your priorities are, right? Because sometimes that can be really hard, or even seeing where your motivation's coming from can be super hard when you are so in the middle of it. So this is something that we can do on the one-on-one calls that I have available until baby comes, right? And all we'd have to do is get on and create and strategize your plan to keep you in line so that you can actually see what's going on. You can reflect on the things that you are doing and you can make changes so that you can stick to your budget. Because like I said, it may not be your actual physical budget that is keeping you from sticking to your budget, but simply your mindset and where you are looking at, where your focus is. Are you focused in on your budget? Are you focused in on your priorities? Or are you focused on that new shiny object that your brain's like, oh, we're going to just forget about that right now, and we're going to look over here at this other thing that we really, really want, but may not actually need, right? So definitely reach out, send me an email to mollybennell@gmail.com, and let's connect if this is something that you really are struggling with and you need some help with. Again, send an email to mollybennell@gmail.com. So that's MOLLY, B as in boy, ENELL. And I will see you right back here next week. Hey mama, I pray that today's episode has inspired you and grew you. If so, will you please share it with that friend who is praying for a budget breakthrough, and leave a rating and review so that you can help get the podcast out to other mamas struggling with their budget. Also, get some support for yourself by joining my free Facebook group and becoming an insider, where you get weekly support emails and are the first to find out when something new is on its way. You can find the links in the show notes, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday.